Aaron Navarro joins us now from the White House. Good morning, Aaron. Let's get more into this new information from this morning. CBS News learning Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem facing internal scrutiny after Saturday's shooting. Tell us about that.
Errol, good morning. CBS News has learned that despite the internal and external criticism, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is expected to keep her job as of now. Now, externally, she had faced some criticism from congressional Republicans who believe that she prematurely labeled Pretti as someone who was there to attack immigration officials. But we've also learned that she faced questions inside the White House when she was here yesterday, facing questions about her handling of the shooting. And we know that she is now going to focus instead on the southern border instead of interior enforcement operations. Noem staying put in her role as DHS secretary comes after the Border Patrol Commander Bovino was demoted. And sources have also said to CBS News that Bovino's aggressive tactics in immigration enforcement from city to city has also caused internal rifts at the Department of Homeland Security out of concerns that his actions was undermining the public support for President Trump's larger immigration and deportation campaign. But it seems that as of now, Kristi Noem is expected to keep her role as the Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
And so, Aaron, Noem oversees DHS, Bovino, who you just mentioned, being demoted, but effectively being replaced by the president's border czar, Tom Homan. You've got several officials here who are leading this immigration crackdown. So who really is in charge? Is it the buck stopping with President Trump, or who is executing his strategy?
The buck, I would say, does start with President Trump. And we've learned that Tom Homan, the border czar, will be the point of contact, the main public-facing person working with immigration officials in Minneapolis. But President Trump has said that Homan will report directly to him. Sources have said that Homan does have a frosty working relationship with Noem, and they do have differences in their overall immigration kind of approach. Homan has talked publicly more so about targeting criminals who are in the country illegally, while Noem has taken a more sweeping, broad, targeting any undocumented migrants that immigration officials are coming across in the city. But the White House is also anticipating that Homan, who did serve as a senior DHS advisor during President Obama's last year in office, will be able to work more collaboratively with Democratic officials in Minnesota, as you've seen that tone shift from President Trump, suggesting after calls with the governor there, as well as Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, that they are now on the same page.
Yeah, and we've got our reporters there on the ground to see if that really does happen. Aaron, at the White House, thank you. Now, this weekend's deadly shooting of Alex Pretti by a Customs and Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis is just the latest flashpoint, as we've been discussing, after weeks of tension in the city. Now, CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez and senior editor for digital politics Joe Walsh, they actually explained and broke down some of the major moments that led up to Saturday's shooting, and this is on CBSNews.com. We can run through the highlights for you now. December 1st, it begins with the deployment of immigration agents to Minneapolis. The Trump administration announced Operation Metro Surge and that it would target people with deportation orders. Minnesota has a large immigrant population, specifically the largest amount of Somali Americans in the U.S., according to U.S. Census data. Now, the vast majority of whom were either born in the U.S. or are naturalized citizens. By December 26, conservative influencer Nick Shirley published videos online alleging fraud at daycare centers across the Minneapolis area. State investigators looked into those allegations and found no evidence of wrongdoing at any of those daycare centers. Still, Shirley's allegations were part of the Trump administration's justification for deploying an additional 2,000 federal agents to Minneapolis. And so, as you might imagine, some outraged residents protested. They documented the agents' immigration movements. Renee Good was shot and killed by an ICE officer 2 days after the deployment surge. The administration says Good tried to run over the officer with her car. Other witnesses say she was trying to turn away from the agent and leave. Still, Good's death further inflamed protests, and that led to President Trump's threats to invoke the Insurrection Act. You may remember this. The law allows for military troops to be deployed for domestic law enforcement. And while the president did not invoke this act, ICE continued its operations in the city, including the temporary detention of a U.S. citizen and separately detaining a 5-year-old boy and his father, who are asylum seekers from Ecuador. Now, those actions fueled continued outrage by some residents, leading more people to protest and observe immigration actions. Saturday's fatal shooting of Pretti happened while he was observing one immigration arrest. For a more detailed look at the events that led up to Saturday's shooting, including a deeper look at the use of force by immigration agents in Minneapolis, you can see Camilo and Joe's reporting on our website. Just head to cbsnews.com.